very, very briefly some of the points that I made when I spoke in the Dail last night on the first part of the private members' time of the United Left Alliance in moving the bill providing for termination of pregnancy in a case where a woman's life is threatened. First of all, I want to say I think it was absolutely correct for the ULA that we should have given again our 3 hours of debating time in the Dáil this week in order to move this bill, because it is a signal to the government that there will be no let-up whatsoever in the urgency of the legislation that is needed in order to resolve this issue. Now, the publication of the expert group report yesterday really only confirms what very many of us and everybody here tonight has been saying for a very long time. And it does point to legislation to deal with this issue. And last night we had the usual plea from ministers across the floor of the Dáil to us that we should withdraw the legislation so that other deputies could study, they said, the expert group and then debated and move into the new year. Now, on that, first of all, let us say that for the expert group report should have been published 2 weeks ago when it was presented to the minister, rather than cynically leaked to the newspapers and then only published yesterday, and the late publication used as an excuse to try to further delay legislation. Secondly, on the expert group report, I have read it. It doesn't take a week, it doesn't take a month, it takes about an hour. And there is no mystery whatsoever to what it says. And any government deputies who are serious about legislating and providing safe termination of pregnancies for women whose lives are threatened should this very night go into the lobbies and vote for the bill that is before the Dáil tonight. And we demand that they should do so. Lastly, the Savita Halappanavar tragedy and the testimony of very many women over the past year particularly, who had difficult, unviable pregnancies and were scandalously forced abroad for terminations. This cries out for the Chinese wall that has been built between a woman's health and a woman's life to be torn down. Even if the government brings forward the bill and we get legislation for X, we will still have a situation where there is a threshold of pain and suffering, physical, mental and emotional, to which the system is willing to subject women before perhaps deciding at the 11th hour, oh yes, her life is in danger and she should have a termination. Tragically, it may very well be shown in the case of Savita that that is what happened, and it was too late at that stage. We must not allow that to happen again. Therefore, we must move away beyond X. There must be legislation for the health of the woman. There must be legislation for women who are pregnant as a result of rape and incest. And there must be legislation to provide for a woman's right to choose to control her own fertility and her own body, that the decision is hers, not agencies of the state. Yes, dear friends, that does mean a referendum within the context of where we stand in this state at the present time. And that is perhaps a daunting challenge for many people. But let it not daunt us too much, because there is a huge body of opinion out there, in my view, which has moved massively forward in relation to this issue. And I believe that if a campaign is built on a national basis and that reaches into every county and city and town in this state, I believe that it is possible to campaign over the next period successfully for a successful referendum. Over the last 12 months, on another issue, on an issue of economic justice against that cruel manifestation of austerity, the home tax that is being foisted on low and middle income people and the poor. We have built, by democratic means, such a massive campaign that goes into every county and has shown a huge mobilizing capacity over the past month, the past year, and that will be intensified in the course of the next year. Exactly the same can be done in relation to a pro-choice movement, building, in my view, support for the ending of the archaic ban in our Constitution, the removal of that Article 43.3, and then legislation allowing for safe, for legal, and for free, in my view, termination where that is demanded by the woman in any situation that they consider appropriate. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is